get access? Oh, how do you get access to the recording?
I'll post it tonight, the link where they'll be posted. They'll be on my website eventually, but they usually make it on the Troy, Michigan website a little sooner than they get on mine. But I'll post the link tonight. It'll be over in the chat how to get to them, honey.
Okay, so just
Yep.
go to your website and it'll be somewhere there and look. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're being recorded. It is the third week of Holy Moments. We're in section 3 tonight of the book, if you're following along, or part 3 or whatever it's called. The call is being recorded. If at any time you want to speak, share, ask a question, dialogue, debate, or discuss or discern, and you want the recording stopped, please just ask me to do that. You're absolutely welcome to that, to have it your way in this case here. And I'm so tickled about this. I love talking about y'all and what comes and what we might get to, and holding this little book and doing my own preparations. I've already read it twice, and now I'm rereading it again for matters of the class and highlighting things I want to highlight and kind of lift up in the teaching. And it's an honor to have you to be able to share this journey with me. So I sincerely and deeply thank you for it. So the opening question for tonight is, and we'll take a couple minutes, literally 2 minutes. And the question is, what gives you hope? What gives you hope? And please don't try to give a right answer or an enlightened answer. Give an honest answer. What gives you hope? And if you, for example, if your answer is my brother gives me hope, tell us how. What does he do that gives you hope? So words he uses, or it's the fact that he started monitoring his carbs to manage his diabetes. So what specifically is it? Be as specific as you can, or kind of physical or concrete. And thanks, Dee, Bonnie, Denny, for putting it in your chat. So Denny, for example, what is it your friends do? What do your dear friends do that gives you hope?
They not only listen, they're there. Their presence is there when you need them, when they need me. They're there.
Thank you. Keep writing. Welcome those of you that just joined us. We're questioning and answering. Write out your answer to what gives you hope. What gives you hope? There may be a list. Oh, it's beautiful, Dee. Dee says, seeing kindness, witnessing kindness in others. Me too. Phone calls from my grandkids, hearing about their plans for their future, and the fact that they want me included in it. Talk about miracles. Yeah. When my grandson hugs me and stays there a bit longer in the hug, when it's a long, extended hug. The basic goodness in all people, our need to connect and belong. Seeing happy, fulfilled people, seeing people who are passionate about something, and seeing them do what they're passionate about, to do their thing, and to be really into it, even lost into it, in the flow of that. Nature. Young people who are willing to have a person-to-person conversation without ever looking at their cell phone. And I guess young is anybody under 80. think about this. I mean, this is addressed in the book. Like these holy moments that we can actually have an interaction with another human being and not check our phone as a holy moment. New life. Teresa's grandchild is on its way, becoming her first grandbaby. Authentic connection. On Frances's birthday, her family members each hung 10 good wishes, sayings of encouragement, rolled them up and hung them from a birthday tree. So now when she needs hope, she picks one. Watching the sunrise, children's laughter, hugs from friends, smiles with strangers, talking with my grandchildren about life. A husband's back pain is less today after having a procedure. Yes. My neighbor getting confirmed that the blockages, the 2 blockages she had is only 10 and 20%. She's got hope restored in her. Watching the sunrise, the joy of the dogs, the fur babies, hearing about and seeing miracles, spring flowers, people who support me. When they support me, it reminds me of my connection with humanity. Thank you, Bobby. Marcia, birds and flowers in the spring, and boy, are we alive in it right now. Witnessing kind acts in public. I don't have a specific thought, and I'm full of it. Full of hope. Thanks, Andrea. Just opening my eyes in the morning, Joe says, hearing my patients say, this is an inspiring call. This is inspiring a calling. Maybe there's a blessing in the pain. I say, drop the maybe. Yes, kindness is everywhere. Young parents at Unity who bring their children to Sunday school, parenting them with a spirit and good parenting skills. So bravo, 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 bravo. So what brings us hope then to continue to work with this and to continue to look for this? Look for the kindness, look for the helper, look for the colors, look for the flowers, look for whatever it is that's going to keep hope renewed in us, particularly in this springtime of renewal. There's a story in the book that I may have referenced last week because I was so moved by it, and I've seen this play many times, Les Miserables. And in that play, this man was in prison, and he gets out of prison, and he was put in prison for stealing bread. And it was years and years and years for stealing bread. And he gets taken in by a bishop, an elderly bishop. And he repays this bishop's hospitality by stealing the silverware. The police capture him the next day and bring him back to the bishop to return the silverware. But the host protects this thieving guest by telling the police that the silverware was a gift. This act of kindness, this holy moment, set him free in every way imaginable. The host was a true holy moments deliverer. He knew holy moments had the power to ransom people from fear and from hatred and possibly return them to God. This encounter with the bishop was the first time in decades that this man had been treated with love, respect, or compassion, and he was forever changed by it. It was a moment of tender caring. The bishop simply did not see the man as a thief. He did not see himself as a bishop. He did not see himself as above him. He saw 2 brothers. In that moment, nothing else mattered to him except what was best for that man. He chose. Now, this is a slippery slope for me because I have done nothing this noble that I know of, and who would even know what's noble and what's not. But I've done things similar in my own life that I hoped and prayed was going to change somebody's life, awaken them, touch them so deeply they wouldn't go back out to stealing, for example, or they wouldn't go back out to their addictions. And they went back out to theft. They went back out to addictions. So what's been your experience with things similar? Because if I'm not careful, I can slide off into what difference does it make? Like I'll say it was a gift, I'll give and give and give and give and give and give and give. And some will transform, some come out of it, some start giving back, some start paying it forward, and others will be lined up at the door with their next set of friends going, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. So what's the messages here? What's your experience here? And where's the line? Where's the line by saying, I said this was a gift, so I'm not going to have this man put in jail again, versus if this man literally can't stop himself from stealing, is putting him in jail the best for him? If they can't stop themselves from stealing, is being in jail a better place than being out stealing? What's your reflections on this? In the story in the book, the man was able to change. He was able to go on to become a universal symbol of hope, of redemption, of salvation, transformation. So what if he didn't? What if he went right down the road and stole their silverware? Or anything else valuable? Anybody want to speak to this? Deborah?
For me, I think it depends on what my own motivation for doing what I did is. If it's because I expect or I think he's going to change or someone else is going to change, there's an expectation in that, as opposed to I was just guided to do this.
Feel the difference.
And also, you know, possibly leading by example.
Yeah. Like if I'm going to do it, I've got to do it without dependency on the outcome. Less attachment, we say. So then my motivation is to create and cause a holy moment, to be a contributor toward transformation. And I have no idea what the outcome will be. And it's God's business. Teresa, your hand was up, honey. Do you want to speak?
Yes, I basically was just going to say everything that you were saying there. I was thinking about the holy moment will come for me when I'm giving freely, when my motives are coming from authenticity and from love without that expectation or the expectation that I'm going to have some influence over the outcome of somebody else's behavior. And I've done it, and we know the results. But the holy moment comes for me in the freedom of giving freely, whatever it is I'm doing in that giving freely. I have no idea what they'll do with it.
Yeah. One of my friends said today that she was attributing this to the class, and she said, I want to share with you a holy moment. And one of her friends told her that a family member was in a dire strait and needed money and was having trouble meeting basic needs like childcare and all that. So she checked in with her husband and asked that she wants to give $200 to this young girl. And she took it over there to give to her. And then she didn't hear anything from the young girl. So she asked the family member, did you give this to her? Have you given this to her? And she said, oh, yeah. And she said, I'm so sorry she's not acknowledged it. So she must have prompted her to acknowledge it. And then she called and said, or texted, not called, texted and said, thank you. Every little bit helps. So think about how that might have landed on you. And if the difference of if we expect a big thanks or a big acknowledgement or approval, appreciation, and we get what she felt like wasn't even a sincere thanks, she did it to get her family member off her back to even acknowledge it in the first place. And Dee, thank you for your comment there. It's like, that's the essence of it right there. When I give and the person continues with whatever way they're being, I try to understand, this is Dee's writing, that they are doing the best they can in their own humanity. And I may not give as much so that I don't have a grudge. And for me, I would say it is so that I can't, if I'm not giving freely, then I'll likely resent it. And I know if I hold any resentment, it was not honest giving. If I have any resentment whatsoever, it was not a clean transaction for me. So then I'll learn from it. And to know that they're motivated, according to Dee's words, they're motivated differently from me. Their motivations are different than mine. And yeah, less attachment to any expected result, which is what I mean when I'm quoted as saying, any expectation is a resentment waiting to happen. And we still have expectations and cannot help it. Anybody else, you're welcome in here. So let's reflect then a minute on what is hope. And if you can, write out a little bit about it. It's just a couple of minutes of, without trying to give the right answer, like, what is hope actually? What is it? What is hope? Thanks, Shannon, whoever put that in there. Hope is looking for the blessing. Looking for the blessing, looking for the good. Where is the light in this darkness? It's defined in the book as it is the belief that good things lay ahead. That good things lay ahead. So today, one of my commitments for the Holy Moments class was to start some conversations with, instead of how are you, to start it with, what holy moment have you had today? What has been a holy moment today? And when I asked today, the last time I asked today, the answer was, what? What did you say? What holy moment did you have today? So I didn't go into I'm having a class or whatever. And there was real pause in it. And the woman said, a lot. I've had a lot of holy moments. And I'm like, pick one. And it was a list similar to what we've already put in here. What really tickled her? What was her grace? The flowers and colors and springs and grandkids hugs and etc. And somebody that was in a lot of pain today, I was working with somebody in a session that's just had a great loss. It's been terminated from employment and a job that they really loved, have worked hard from in a profession that they really care about. So it's been a bitter, bitter pill. And after a lot of processing, talking it out, crying it out, hurting, and having a space for the hurt, he said, even in all this pain, I know that something good is waiting for me. I know that this loss is creating something up the road for me. And that is the definition of hope to me. That even in the loss, and this is not a spiritual bypassing of the pain or a pretending that I'm not hurt, but even in the hurt, there is something knowing in me, a part of me that knows in certainty in me that yes, I'm in the loss. Yes, it hurts like a son of a gun. Yes, I'm boogered up. Yes, I don't like it a bit. And there's a part of me in certainty that knows there's something good up the road for me, that lays ahead of this. And I'm not in a place yet to see it. The second definition is it's a combination of desire and expectation. And I just said expectation is a resentment waiting to happen. So this is a different expectancy, a combination of desire and expectation. It is the confidence that something wonderful is possible. Something awful is also possible in my definition of what is awful. It's also not losing touch with, yes, I see that. The reality is this could go either way. It's also possible. Something wonderful is possible also. So it's at a minimum, it's a both and of this. Much of this section is looking at how much hopelessness that exists in the world today, even our ability to desire good things, our jaded atmosphere, our jaded attitude about that's been diminished, that our desires, our hope has been diminished. Our expectations often focus on what's negative or awful, 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 and awfulizing what's going on. So as a growing number of people have lost hope in the culture, in our world, in our humanity, in the society, which is justifiable when you look at the cruelty, the injustice, the suffering, all that's going on. It's no surprise that this is the case. And there's still hope here in us that is miracle making hope, hope that empowers others, even in their suffering, even in their pain. For those of us who can keep a spark of hope alive and to live it out and to model it, holds the power for a transformation for humanity. And in a spiritual multiplication, which we get to in the next session. So this, a mindset of awfulizing will take us deeper into the hopelessness. And there's an allure to awfulize, even an inertia to awfulize. Ain't it awful? Ain't it awful? Ain't it awful? Which makes us feel that even the smallest things are hard. Even the smallest things are more out of reach, more impossible to do. And it's absolutely the mechanism and the cause of most of the senses of overwhelm that we have. So hope as an antidote to overwhelm. One ray of hope, one spark of hope. When we are hopeful, we believe, at least some part of us believes, the future can be better than it is right now, that the future can be better than the past, and that there are things we can do, which is the real power of this work for me, that there is actually something I can do to help bring about a better future. So if I want to cause and to create a better future in the exact situation I'm in, even if it's a boogered up, painful situation, I am not powerless to say there's actually things I can do to bring about a better future. There's things I can do to improve the situation I'm in. There's things I can do to improve this relationship, the way I'm communicating, the way I'm coming across, the way that I am reacting or responding. I have power in my choice in how I can cause a better outcome here. So what would cause us, if we know this, that there's actually something I can do in a sticky situation or in a world that's a mess or whatever else, and we can bring in statistics to support all this, like it can be quite overwhelming, that even in that, there's something you can do and something I can do, interaction to interaction, day by day, person by person, transaction by transaction, to cause and create a better outcome, a better experience, a better future. So reflect now on a situation you might be in with a person or a situation that's may have its hooks in you or got you boogered up a little, worried or kind of disheartened, and see what can you do in that very situation. One concrete, specific thing you can do, just one that you can do to bring about a better outcome. Time for your own reflection. So I'll be taking my brother in on Thursday for an outpatient surgical procedure. He's generally grumpy. He's mad about the condition. He doesn't like doctors or hospitals, and he's very inconvenienced by the whole thing. He doesn't like questions about what medicine he's taken or how much or when. And he predictably is going to get about 50 questions while he's not had anything to eat or drink for about 12 hours. So I am not going to expect him to be a sparkly edition of himself. I'm going to give him space for the grumpiness and grace if I can muster it. Because then he doesn't have the stress of the surgery and the stress of 50 questions he doesn't want to answer, and the stress of me trying to get him to be upbeat. For example. So share anything you want to share about how you maybe will cause a holier moment in a situation you're in. I underlined in the book, and those of you following along, it's in the part 3 on page 67. The world has been a mess for a long time. So I don't have to talk about for the next 2,000 years what a mess the world's in. So that's one more thing I can contribute to, that I will not speak what a mess the world is in. I will not speak it. I also will not use the excuse the world is in such a mess and the world's always been in such a mess and the world will always be in such a mess as my excuse for not doing what I can. For not making a difference. So that's 2. And even in the mess, just like if I had a mess in the house, I'm going to start somewhere and clean up what part of it I can clean up. I may not clean the whole mess, but I will clean one corner of it. I'll clean one relationship of it. One exchange of it. I can clean some part of it up. There's a concept introduced in the text that's called the progress delusion. The progress delusion. Now, I never heard of this. We've been under the spell of progress delusion. The progress delusion is the misguided belief that change and progress are the same thing. All change is not progress. So what is progress? Improving the well-being of human beings. So if that motivates me today to improve the well-being of human beings, that's a guide. In this interaction, am I leaning toward improving the well-being of human beings? And if the answer is no, then that's a no. Then I cannot in integrity continue. I've got to make a choice, a decision that at least intentionally or apparently will be for the well-being of another human being. What would cause a human more likely to flourish? What could I do to contribute to flourishing in another human being? Because to the degree that our goal of progress is to improve the well-being of people and to bring about human flourishing, I will not do anything that dehumanizes people, which would dehumanize myself. So it referenced the phones. These phones we have got as body parts now. And psychology is referring to it, particularly in the younger generation, that they're serving similar to a pacemaker. And I say it's not just in the younger generation. To look at our dependency on this and what happens when it's not within our reach, when it's not within my reach, or when I've not checked it every 15 minutes. So we have more communication than ever before. All the means of communication without improved communication or heart-to-heart communication. So even though we may have more avenue for communication, doesn't mean we're actually flourishing in our communication. And many of you that have worked with me in your leadership councils and boards and colleagues and office places and environments know that one of the best practices I put forward is when the relationship matters and when intensity is high or anxiety is high or emotions are high and the relationship matters, no texting or emailing. As an example, to get some kind of human contact in the form of a phone call or in person, a visit, if it's possible. The greatest failure of this, so this is from the text, the greatest failure of this so-called progress is spiritual. Genuine progress leads to the flourishing of humanity, of the entire human species. It does not reduce people to economic tools and social animals. It's time to reconsider our approach to progress. All progress involves change. Not all change is progress. Change is inevitable. Progress is not. And history shows this in spades, and the demise of certain things, extinctions of whole animal species, civilizations, stagnation, regressions, deteriorations, etc. So, where's the hope in all of this? So then our ability to meet this challenge rests upon our own spiritual qualities, our own moral qualities, that it is not dependent on an intellectual capacity to innovate or to invent something, but on our moral character. The hope is in the morality. And some of you wrote it right in your comments, the basic human goodness of people and them demonstrating it. To look beyond our own selfish interests, which we looked at in week 1, to set that aside, at least to some degree, to what is good for the whole, good for my whole system, good for my whole well-being, not what is good for the little 4-year-old child that's trying to run the show in me, but what's good for the whole system within me, what is good for the whole system in the family, in the workplace, in the office. And then choose, how will I contribute to this? And the final thought for this week is on virtue. So how would you describe virtue? What is virtue to you? Not trying to give a right answer. What is virtue? And your virtues. Thank you, Karen. Shannon, Jane, Di, whoever's writing up there. Defined as the quality of being moral. Behavior showing high moral standards. And words like goodness, integrity, dignity, honesty, trustworthiness, principled, decency, honorableness. Our lives only genuinely improve when we actually grow in virtue. So you likely consider yourself honest, an honest person. So look to see how you could grow honesty. How could I get just even a hair more honest? Honest with my feelings. Honest with what hurt me. Honest with where I stand. Honest with what I think on a matter. So how would I grow that? How would I grow my own decency? How could I grow my own integrity? And some of you wrote either last week or the week before, like you're going to work on creating some holy moments by becoming more patient. Like that's a noble endeavor to dial up my patience a hair. And the virtue of patience improves our lives. It also improves our relationships. It improves our attractiveness. We generally prefer to be around people that can muster a little patience with us here and there. So then how to become more of that? And 2 patient people have a better relationship than 2 impatient people. Two patient friends will have a better time of friendship than two impatient, or even one impatient. So growing in our virtues leads to a spiritual expansion. That is the hallmark of human flourishing. And I cannot improve my life in any meaningful way without improving as a human being. So as long as I'm alive, there's some improvement possible. And what if virtue is the only way to make actual progress? Increasing virtue as the only way for our society to make genuine progress. And we've heard it from the philosophers, every one of them. Character is destiny, for example. So this is true for individuals, marriages, families, communities, nation. No one immune, no one excluded from this. So last question for your reflection. As far as I know, last question. What will bring about human flourishing? What will bring about a flourishing in humanity? Forgiveness, kindness. Thank you, Susan. An inherent goodness that will poke its way through the messiest and ugliest. Honesty, compassion, fairness. Everything we've been taught by every sage and seer since the beginning of time. So time to take it, thank you, Lisa, acceptance into our practice, into our application, and less in our platitudes. Spirituality is a way to provide some of these tools to develop this, to grow this, to enhance this, all of which have been named here, all of which are in this chat, one top to bottom. And the future of the world may quite literally depend on humanity accessing its spiritual intelligence. And I personally don't believe you can have spiritual intelligence without emotional intelligence. And experts, psychology, business leaders absolutely demonstrate and disclose and agree that emotional intelligence is disappearing. And even though emotional intelligence is proven as having more success than IQ, EQ, a better predictor of success than IQ, personally and professionally, there's still very little development in the emotional intelligence realms. So many of you I know and work with you, and I get to witness you working on your emotional intelligence and having a solid foundation for how you're going to be, respond, and be and live and demonstrate emotionally. And I believe it's critical to having any higher spiritual intelligence, that the emotional intelligence is primary in that. It means vigorous growth and development. Flourish. Vigorous growth and development. The dictionary describes it as helpful. And I use plants, as many as you know, to keep hope alive in me. I keep a plant near me. In my view right now, 7, 8 plants and 8 more in another room to keep hope alive in me. Plants are effortless in the way they flourish. Effortless. Children, to some degree, children before they're domesticated. Effortless. Their squeals of delight, their energy, their boundless energy to jump, to play, to try something new. Bursting with life, bursting with desire to experience life. So natural instincts to flourish. And the more adult we get, the more we need to relearn the art of flourishing. The more I need to. And I believe and have already experienced these holy moments have brought me back into my natural state of flourishing. And I'm just now onto it. So just as the class is ready to close next week, I'll be starting my class on holy moments. And every one of us have heard about ripple effect and butterfly effect and domino effect and snowball effect and compounding effect. And all of these phenomena are powerful. And it multiplies everything into affinity through the effects of this. And this is the glimpse that I believe a holy moment has. One act. So there used to be, remember when we talked a lot about the 100th monkey effect? And look it up if you want to. We don't have time tonight to go into it. But I remember thinking when I heard that, we don't have to worry about the 100th monkey. The 100th monkey will take care of his doggone self. We've got to be the first monkey. We've got to put the first pebble in the pond. We've got to be the first one. And 1 creates 2, 3, 4, creates 5, creates 10, creates. So the tipping point. The tipping point. So let me pause and see where you are, what your observations about tonight, any takeaways you want to share. Raise your hand if you want to speak or wave electronically, or just wave it out if you want to. What can you take away from tonight, Carol?
I've been thinking a lot the last minutes, and being the first monkey helps. It's a quote from Ramana Maharshi, and I don't know that it's correct. I haven't read a lot of him, but the Indian saint very much about the love like Jesus, and saying that the best thing we can do for the world is to awaken to our own true self. So our working on this awareness is becoming the first monkey.
I think so too, honey, and amen, amen, and the group says amen. So I swear, promise, it's what keeps me at the work. That I believe my working here is the biggest contribution I'll ever make to the world. So I'll stay with it as far as I know. Anybody else? Where's your hope? And what will dial up your hope?
I like the idea of, I used to think that virtues, were old fashioned, but no. So it's restoring that, restoring those values, those virtues, the integrity, the honesty, the compassion, dignity, all of that. Thank you for that.
All of that, honey. Yes. A restoration of it and a dialing it up. Like, how can I dial up the luminosity on this? How can I even brighten this? So beautiful to witness. Teresa.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that story about your brother, and something caused a holy moment in me when you spoke of the stress in him to answer those questions, or the stress in him to have to even go there. And for those of us that's an easy thing to do, it's almost like effortless for some of us that are well acquainted with that type of a process. But it was, the emotion and the authenticity that you had behind that. I could see better. I'm explaining that to you enough, but because I had an expectation of my sister. And anyway, thank you.
You're welcome, honey. Sonia, you had your hand up, honey. Do you want to speak?
Yes, you reminded me of something called the Virtues Project. And there's a author from Vancouver Island that created this organization and has written and spoken about this since 1991. So I just looked it up again, but I just remember being so inspired by it when I came across it, and my children were younger. And I so appreciate you reminding me of this. And it just simply says the mission of the Virtues Project is to inspire people of cultures to remember who we really are and to live by our highest values. And it's a global initiative inspiring the practice of virtues in everyday life. And its foundation is rooted in the world's great wisdom traditions. So it's beautiful. Really nice to hear this woman talk about this project. And I think it's been a project that schools have adopted. So I'm working in a high school, and it's from grade 7 to grade 12. Wow. There was just a meeting with the grade 7, 8 teachers, and anyway, there's so much I could say about it, but it's not, we all need it, not the grade 7, 8s. So
There you go, honey. What can we do? Yeah. What corner can I sweep in? What cobweb can I take out here? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I love you all. I'll stay on here for a few minutes. I'm going to end the recording. It's time to close. We got one more week. Come back if you can. Invite anybody you want to. And if there's a way that I can support you directly, marthacreek@gmail.com. And the recordings of this will be posted. You can also forward them on to somebody if you feel like they could be benefited by hearing this or being a part of it, watching it even after this time tonight. Yep. I'll see you next week and soon. And so grateful for you. So grateful for you.
Thank you, Martha.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
You.
Yes, thank you, Martha.